Sometimes the Academy can be stingy, while at other times it has been overly generous. Hey, it's Michael, aka Oscar Man, and I'm going to discuss six actors who have won three Oscars. And yeah, I'll throw in her too because you'll mention it if I don't. For each actor, I'll pick the performance I feel was most deserving of an Oscar, and also tell you whether I feel the other two performances also should have won. Let's begin with who else?
Marvelous Meryl Streep.
Holding a current record of 21 nominations, do you think anyone will ever top this? Meryl Streep has won, so far, two Oscars for lead and one for supporting. I'm going to start with the performance I think was the most deserving of the three, and though it may seem like a no-brainer to most of you, I'm choosing 1982's Sophie's Choice simply because it would earn an Olympic score of 10 for level of difficulty. I'm actually not a huge fan of the film, as I remember it being long and tedious at times. I think Streep's performance is the reason to watch Sophie's Choice, and I understand why she was the overwhelming favorite that year.
And he read this speech and make those mistakes, and I see him getting so angry. And when it was over, he came up to me. I was with my husband, of course. And in front of him and all his colleagues, he said, Zosha, your intelligence is pulp. Pulp.
Though I think 1979's Kramer versus Kramer has not aged well, as it now plays more like a movie of the week, I will solely rate Streep's performance based on its merit and the competition. So I'll vote that the Oscar was deserved. Some argue it's a lead role, but Streep is only in the film for a little more than 20 minutes, so I think her category placement was correct. Now, I know a lot of you strongly dislike Streep in 2011's The Iron Lady. I have no real issue with her performance. My favorite of hers is actually this one. All bets were on Viola Davis to win that year for The Help, but my vote would have gone to Michelle Williams for My Week with Marilyn, one of her very best performances. So even though I thought Streep was fine as Margaret Thatcher, I'm going to say undeserved on this one. Jack Nicholson has also won two leads and one supporting Oscar from his 12 nominations, the most for any actor. The performance I choose as the one most deserving of a win is his first, for 1975's One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Of course, it was considered Nicholson's turn that year after losing four previous times. But come on, Nicholson was the film. It was as if he was born to play McMurphy.
Ah, come on. You're not gonna say that now. You're not gonna say that now. You're gonna pull that henhouse shit now when the vote the chief just voted it was 10-9. Now I want that television set turned on right now!
Even though I think Cuckoo's Nest is one of his best performances, I also think this began the phase where Nicholson started becoming, well, Nicholson. The mannerisms, the line readings, a lot of his subsequent work seemed to me as if I was seeing the same person speaking different lines. Of course, there are many actors who have done this in their careers, and the familiarity works extremely well. Because when audiences go to see a Jack Nicholson movie, they expect to see the Jack Nicholson they know and enjoy. What actors can you think of who are truly versatile and can play a diverse set of characters? Nicholson's second win was for supporting actor in 1983's Terms of Endearment. Seemingly tailor-made for the actor, writer-director James L. Brooks actually created the role for Burt Reynolds, who I think would have been perfect. Unfortunately, Reynolds turned it down to star in a, let's say, much different film. Nicholson didn't disappoint here, and I'm choosing this as a deserved win. For 1997's As Good as It Gets, Jack Nicholson was the first and only choice for the role, as stated by writer-director, that's right, James L. Brooks. Nicholson gave us what we expected here, so his win for lead actor was neither surprising nor, in the case of that year's competition, undeserved, though I feel his work in 2002's About Schmidt was much better. Have you guessed the bit of trivia about Jack Nicholson's wins? In all three of those years, his female co-stars won the Best Actress Oscar. I need to state that I like Frances McDormand. She's a talented actress who has consistently given good performances. Her Oscar track record ain't bad. 3 wins out of 6 nominations. Of this trio, I am choosing 2017's Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri as her most deserving win. McDormand has a tendency to play badass roles, some with more subtlety, but she goes full throttle here, and for me, it worked the best to her advantage. I also think she had a great scene partner to play off of, fellow Oscar winner Sam Rockwell. I found the story compelling, and McDormand was the linchpin to make it all come together.
You know what I was thinking about today? I was thinking about those street gangs they have down in Los Angeles, those Crips and those Blood. And if I remember rightly, the gist of what those new laws were saying was, if you join one of these gangs and you're running with them, and down the block one night, unbeknownst to you, one of your fellow Crips or your fellow Bloods shoot up a place or stab a guy, well then, even though you may not know nothing about it, and even though you may have just been standing on a street corner minding your own business, what these new laws said was, you're still culpable.
In 1996, Frances McDormand won her first Best Actress Oscar for Fargo, a film that many enjoy. I'm not as wildly enthusiastic about the film or McDormand's win. Yes, she was amusing as quirky Marge Gunderson, and yes, she's the lead, even with only 26 minutes of screen time. But I would absolutely have voted for Brenda Blethyn for her blistering performance in Secrets and Lies, hands down. So sorry, Frances, but it's an undeserved win for me. Okay, let's be honest. How many of us were shocked by McDormand winning her 3rd Oscar for 2020's Nomadland? The film was fine, a sad allegory of a subset of people who become outcasts of society. Frances McDormand did what she does well, playing a downtrodden soul possessing an inner strength beneath the surface. Nothing objectionable here, but another win? Sorry again, Frances, but this one belonged to Carey Mulligan in Promising Young Woman. Now, I admit to bias regarding Frances McDormand. I think she is a solid actress, but this woman currently has 3 Oscars, while this lady doesn't even have 1. Come on, Academy, you could do better. I have always thought Daniel Day-Lewis was among the most talented actors working in film. Thankfully, he announced he will return to acting after previously saying he was retiring from the industry. Day-Lewis echoes McDormand's Oscar run of 3 victories from 6 nominations, and I imagine it might be difficult for most to choose from among his winning performances. For me, it's pretty easy, as I thought 2012's Lincoln was a great showcase for the gifts Day-Lewis possesses. It can actually be more challenging for an actor to portray a real-life person, especially one as legendary as the 16th President of the United States.
See, we've shown that a people can endure awful sacrifice and yet cohere. Mightn't that save at least the idea of democracy to aspire to? Eventually to become worthy of? At all rates, whatever may be proven by blood and sacrifice must have been proved by now.
My Left Foot became Daniel Day-Lewis's first Oscar-winning performance. Once again portraying a real-life person, Day-Lewis conquered another tricky role masterfully, and though he was up against Tom Cruise, giving one of his best performances in Born on the 4th of July, I can understand why Lewis's work as Christy Brown earned him his first win for the 1989 biopic. The second of Daniel Day-Lewis's Best Actor Oscars was for 2007's There Will Be Blood. Once again, even though he didn't face really strong competition that year, and this opus is not among my favorite films. Daniel Day-Lewis's Oscar win was most deserving. So it's 3 for 3 this time. How would you vote? I said I would include Katharine Hepburn, even though she won a record-breaking 4 Oscars from her 12 nominations, all for lead actress. I'll go over each one quickly. 1933's Morning Glory is another film that has not aged well, but I can see at the time why Hepburn would have been considered quite the actress. Hepburn managed to win her first Oscar over May Robeson, who was so wonderful in Lady for a Day. This was the first, but not the last time the Academy goofed in selecting Hepburn. Her second win came more than 30 years later for Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, which has been much discussed on this channel, and for good reason. Katharine Hepburn is just fine in this dated film about interracial marriage. It was her last movie with Spencer Tracy, so I could easily see why the Academy would have voted for her for sentimental reasons. But up against Anne Bancroft, Faye Dunaway, Edith Evans, and Audrey Hepburn? I wish this had been the one year that Katharine Hepburn showed up, so she could have graciously refused the award. A year later, a shocker occurred when Hepburn tied with Barbra Streisand. I covered that in a previous video. But I'm going to vote deserved for this win for The Lion and Winner because this time I understand the Academy's decision. Fast forward 13 years later, and Katharine Hepburn shocks once again, winning for 1981's On Golden Pond. On the one hand, it seems like another sentimental choice. However, given the strong competition, my vote easily would have gone to Marsha Mason's shattering performance in Only When I Laugh. Did Katharine Hepburn deserve all 4 Oscars? If not, how many should she have won? Most people likely remember Walter Brennan for his role as Grandpa in the TV series The Real McCoys. I wonder how many know that he won 3 Oscars and how he did it. Walter Brennan began his career in 1925, working as an extra and bit player, the majority of these uncredited, in more than 125 films before moving on to supporting roles in the mid-1930s. Brennan almost always played in Westerns, and one of his best performances was as Judge Roy Bean in 1940's The Westerner, for which he won his 3rd Best Supporting plaque. Full-size statues were first given to the supporting winners of 1943.
Who are you? Who are you? What are you doing here? Stranger, come here. Now, who are you anyhow? What are you doing here? Huh?
Right. Don't you remember? Well, I'm the fellow that filled the inside straight in one Chickenfoot's horse. So long, Judge.
Walter Brennan became the first winner of the Best Supporting Actor award with 1936's Come and Get It, in a scene-stealing role as a potential suitor for the film's star, played by Frances Farmer. And 2 years later, he won his 2nd Oscar for Kentucky, playing his stock-and-trade role of a grizzled sidekick. I mentioned the importance of how Brennan won 3 Academy Awards in 5 years. Well, in the early years of the Academy, members of the Screen Extras Guild were permitted to vote for the awards. This represented a rather large voting bloc, which acknowledged Brennan for working his way up from their ranks to supporting roles and co-star billing. Because of this, the Academy changed the rules so that extras were no longer permitted to vote. As a result, Brennan lost on his 4th try for 1941's Sergeant York. Before I discuss the last of the 3-time winners, I want to thank you for being an important part of this channel. Those who love discussing the Oscars are becoming a rare breed, and most people just don't get us. That's why I created the channel, and I appreciate your enthusiasm and terrific insight of this subject. After the video concludes with a message from an Oscar winner, I would be thankful if you hit the like button. And if you're not already subscribed to the channel, consider joining our friendly community by sharing your thoughts on each weekly video, as well as participating in the daily polls, where your votes count. Ingrid Bergman scored 7 nominations and 3 wins in her career, which spanned 4 decades. Of her 3 Oscar wins, the most deserving is an easy one for me. 1944's Gaslight is among my favorite films. The title has become a part of our culture, a term that unfortunately references a common experience shared by many, if not most of us. In the film, Bergman runs the gamut of innocent, naive bride of Charles Boyer to a woman who, in a power shift, turns the tables towards ultimate revenge in this tale of psychological mind games.
Help me. If I were not mad, I could have helped you. Whatever you had done, I could have pitied and protected you. But because I am mad, I hate you. Because I am mad, I have betrayed you. And because I am mad, I'm rejoicing in my heart without a shred of pity, without a shred of regret, watching you go with glory in my heart.
George Cukor was a director who was able to get great performances from his leading ladies, and he succeeded with Bergman in this fun thriller. Ingrid Bergman won her second lead actress Oscar for 1956's Anastasia, the first of what I believe were apology awards from an industry embarrassed for the way it treated her over a personal indiscretion that resulted in her being exiled and blackballed by Hollywood. Considered a comeback in her first major studio film, Bergman won for a performance that I thought was good, but not among her best work. I would have voted for Deborah Kerr in The King and I that year. Now, anyone who has watched this channel knows how I feel about Bergman's third win, this time for supporting actress, in 1974's Murder on the Orient Express. Simply put, I think it is among the worst choices in Academy history. Why? For starters, it was yet another apology Oscar from a group of people who still needed Bergman to forgive them. Second, Bergman's role is pretty much a cameo consisting of one scene that doesn't really challenge her all that much. If the Academy really wanted to acknowledge the film, better performances were given by Lauren Bacall and Wendy Hiller. And third, I feel that Ingrid Bergman was the least deserving of the 5 nominees that year. My vote would have gone to Diane Ladd for her excellent work in Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore. I mean, come on. Even the always classy actress didn't think she deserved to win, stating as much in one of the most gracious acceptance speeches ever given. So which Oscar-winning performances from these 3-time winners do you think was their most deserving? Tell us why in the comments. And until the next video, I'll leave you with this.
I guess this proves there are as many nuts in the Academy as anywhere else. But